says I'm now live streaming, but it hasn't showed up on the site yet.
So do you have
2 minutes until showtime?
What's that?
You press a button and then you come on live on YouTube where people can see you, or does it
Yep.
just automatically get you up there?
I have another what's called it's another program that you have to run, and that's what feeds it to the YouTube stream live. So, and we're on there now. We're actually on YouTube live now. So, but we got about a minute and a half. So they get to see this, first minute and a half of preliminary stuff and about what's going on, and they get to pick up on all that stuff. So, but we got about another minute and a half before we go live, and so they're getting to see you and I chit chat here. Is what we're getting.
Yeah, behind the scenes action, as they say.
That's right, behind the scenes action. Let me see. Yeah, and yeah, I don't have anybody live watching yet, but they'll come on here in just a minute. So, yeah, they'll come on here. Oh nope, now I got I already got 27 people live watching. So, and they're saying we got what 52 seconds till program time. So. Yeah. So, gonna come on with some extra stuff tonight. I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit of the contrast. This stuff that I'm bringing on tonight has been building for the last 2 and 3 months, and I'm just ready to kind of put it all into perspective of, especially with some of the information that I picked up in this last week. So, yeah. I think.
Well, it's it's just based on some of the exposure and information you've had, putting this particular point of view together and sharing it. I think it's a good thing to add.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's we're just seeing all the corruption and fraud that's going on around the dinar. It's just massive. Okay, here we go.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, folks. This is Dave Schmidt, and I'm your host here tonight on the Sedona Connection. It's July 12th. Here in Sedona, and it's 6 p.m. at my home here in Sedona. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast. That means it's also 6 p.m. on the West Coast, and wherever you may be around this wide, wonderful world here tonight, I want to thank you all for joining us. And yes, I am back on the live streaming again tonight here on YouTube as well as on the radio. And folks, let me just say this for those of you that are calling in on the radio program. Basically the program maxes out at about 50 callers. So if you could possibly maybe go to live streaming, or if you could go to your computer, listen to it there, or even watch it on live streaming, because there are some people that like to listen to the program live and they only have their phones available, and that's where the live callers are. I just mentioned that, but if you do that, it'd be nice to allow as a courtesy to allow some of the others to be able to come on the air. But again, thank you for joining this week. I want to thank everybody for joining in the program last week. I had given some information that I had been building for about a year to year and a half, and I was finally able to kind of let it out there last week. And this week I'm going to continue with that. But before I mention that, I want to say thank you so much to all of the wonderful people that attended the workshop in Philadelphia last Saturday. Absolutely wonderful time. Great time that we had there. Hold on here. Let me see. I got a text message coming in. I always like to try to, because those folks kind of tell me what it's sounding like out there. Okay, so hold on here. Let me see there. Let me see what the text message I have to say. So, it says audio is good everywhere. Okay. Well, with that, I want to say, Blanca, how are you doing this fine and wonderful evening in Atlanta, Georgia?
Doing very well, Dave, and I'm so glad I can hear you.
You can hear me. I can hear you.
Last week we had a time.
And the text messages are saying that that the audio is good everywhere, and I'm glad to hear that. I think I got some of the bugs worked out and some of the complications worked out in contrast to what we had last week, but everything is good here. How's your week been?
That's good. Very good. Hot over here, hot and humid. with major thunderstorms for about 20 minutes each day, and then it turns real sunny, and so we steam. But that's just life in Atlanta these days.
Yeah.
But otherwise, having a nice summer.
Yeah, we had that too. We're entering into our monsoon seasons here, in Arizona. We had huge thunderstorms last night. Got up this morning, all blue skies, and here we are, in the afternoon and late evening. It's not all overcast again. We'll probably get some more rain again tonight. But we kind of enjoy that at this time of the year because this is when it gets really hot. And when the clouds and thunderstorms come in, they always kind of cool it down a little bit. But, I mean, a cooling down for us is 80, 90 degrees. So it was 90 today and one of the cooler days that we've had, in the last month today. So, but other than that, all is well here. And, yeah, anything else you'd like to add there before I make a couple other announcements?
No, I think I'm just delighted that all the sound is good. Of course, we're in full moon phase, and sometimes things get crazy during the full moon. So I was keeping my fingers crossed. So no, we're good to go. I'm glad the workshop went well. It sounded like it went well. So, and you've got a few more coming up. So
I do.
Cool too.
They always go well, and folks, again, I always like to say, and the people that come can tell you, I'm able to share so much more live than I can when I'm on the internet because, it's back to the fact that, when I'm on the internet, I have people out there that don't like us, don't like me, what we're doing, and they will take what gets out on the internet and will mess with it because once it's out there, once it's on the internet, you totally lose control of it. And we had an example of that in this last week. Somebody out there had taken my YouTube video from 3 years ago when I gave about a dong update. And even though the published date said June 2014, they, on the video I said, well, here it's June and I don't give the year. So I get tons of emails coming in saying that they've seen this video and they're saying, why am I not on your list? And why have not gotten these forms to fill out? And I go back and I says, well, what are you talking about? And then finally I found out, and he says, folks, that was a video from 3 years ago that somebody else posted. They're either completely stupid and don't know how to read published dates to do that, or it's a deliberate attack, to create confusion, create problems. And there's a lot of people that like to do that with us here. So that's why I have to be extremely careful about what I say on the internet versus what I can say live at all these workshops. And we would always love to have you come. We have this Saturday in Louisville, Kentucky. I have lots of room available. And then 2 weeks after that, I'll be in Denver. And we sell plenty of room that's available there. And then 2 weeks after that, I think it's August 12th. But it's on the website. I'll be here in Sedona. And then I take about 4 weeks off. And then after that, we're going to be doing one in Orlando. And then 2 weeks after that, for the first time, I'm going to Europe. Going to do one in Europe, in Amsterdam. And would love to have you if you come there. That's on September 23rd, and I specifically scheduled that at least a couple weeks after Labor Day because the heavy tourist season then slows down. And so the weather is still decent, but they won't be so crowded for the tourists and stuff like that. If you can come on over to Amsterdam, would love to have you there. And for all you wonderful folks that are in Europe, I'm getting excited about coming there. I know I've been getting lots of emails from a lot of you for 3 and 4 years saying, when are you going to come to Europe? When are you going to come to Europe? And so I am. I don't have it posted on the website yet, but I've already I have scheduled to go to Australia in January. And not only that, I'm also going to go to Puerto Rico in January, February as well. Again, I don't have those dates right in front of me. But for the folks, I have about 800 people on my list from just in Puerto Rico. So I'm going to go back to Puerto Rico and then in Australia in either late January, February. I don't have it right in front of me, but I haven't published those dates yet. So, but those are the ones that are be coming up. So, and I always love the live audiences that are there. They're always great. So, and folks, if finances are tight from you, go to the website. Just go to my website, read through what is there. I have what are called scholarship rates that are available, but you have to go through the website. You have to read through what's there to be able to see what's available. And I always say if there's room in the room, you are more than welcome to be there. It's not about how much money it's going to cost. It's about whether or not I have room or whether or not we're sold out. Other than that, if you want to be there, I'll always try to find a way to make it be available for you. So, okay. Well, we're now up to about 300 callers on YouTube streaming. We're filled up with 50 people on the Blog Talk Radio, and we're now at about 8 minutes into the program. So, Blanca, is there anything else that you'd like to kind of share or make some notes on before I get into the program tonight?
Well, I think I just want to say that Al and I are planning to join you in Louisville, so we're looking
Yes.
forward to seeing you
Yes.
there and to meet some of the folks in Louisville as well. We also enjoy, meeting the audience. Just a great bunch of people, always inspiring. So we're looking forward to that. And I don't know, it's tempting to go to Puerto Rico. And
Puerto Rico. Well, that's not that far from you for Atlanta, you know.
I know.
You guys,
So we'll kind of put that in the noggin.
yeah, Atlanta's the headquarters of Delta Airlines, and they run flights from Atlanta to over to San Juan every day, about 3 or 4 of them, and
Right.
so yeah. And so if I'm flying on Delta, I'd have to fly through Atlanta. If I'm flying on American Airlines, they usually end up going through either Miami or Charlotte because that's where their hubs are. But yeah, but that's a direct flight for you. That's no different than coming across the country. So going to Puerto Rico.
Right. So we'll put a thought on there and meet all the wonderful people over there.
Lots
And,
of
but
wonderful
anyway,
people.
Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville's next. So yeah, it's very exciting that you're adding other countries to your itinerary. Be delightful to meet folks in the other countries, and it's always amazing because we have friends who live overseas. Is there's a certain type of people who like to go to your workshops or listen to your type of show, and it's always nice to meet them no matter where they are in the world. So you see there's a connection, either a soul connection or a heart connection there, and you kind of verify that when you go to another country and meet like-minded people,
Yeah.
heart-centered people. It's very, very nice to do that.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I think, I'm going to go ahead and get on with the program, and then I will go into the callers after, probably I've gone through the content of the program tonight. And I'm wanting to do a little bit of an extension of kind of just opening up some stuff about what's going on out there tonight is what I want to do here. So, all right. So are we ready to go?
We are ready.
We're ready to go. All right. Okay. Well, I wrote in the newsletter that I wanted to talk about something tonight, and that was the massive amount of corruption, fraud, and counterfeiting that has been going on around the dinar. And folks, that is no small issue at all. A lot of us have felt for some time is that we knew that this stuff was going on out there. And I don't care who you are. You get in a world where there's going to be billions, hundreds of billions, and trillions of dollars involved. You better believe there's going to be a lot of corruption that's going to be in there, trying to scam that money, trying to do what they can to get a hold of it, trying to get it for themselves and trying to control it. Well, we knew that there was counterfeiting that was going on, but we didn't know to what the extent. And what we have found out is, and I have mentioned this just a little bit briefly, but when Iraq had the printing plates for printing up the currency, they were able to get an exact copy of those, brought those into the United States, and there's been a printing press here in the United States running full time, printing up counterfeit dinar. And because they're exact plates, you can't tell the difference by looking at them or feeling them. You won't know the difference until you run it through a Delarue machine. And they're even finding that because the exact copies were so good, even the Delarue machine is not always picking up the counterfeits that is there. There is a ton of counterfeit dinar that is out there. Because when you run the serial numbers, how do you know? I mean, who tracks serial numbers? Nobody tracks serial numbers. So what are the odds that you're going to have two of the same exact notes with the same serial number right in front of you if you're not tracking serial numbers? Nobody does that. And so that has been going on. The massive amount of counterfeiting that is out there. You heard me say last week, and folks, this is not just a rumor. I have seen what are called, the client information sheets on these people. I have seen their information personally. I am aware of 8 different people that have boxes. And when I say boxes, we're talking hundreds of thousands. And we have one individual that we know that has well over 1 million. They have millions of boxes of dinar, and there's 1 billion dinar in each box. We are aware of hundreds of millions of boxes of dinar that has been printed up. When there's that, you're now talking not about billions or trillions or quadrillions. There's over 1 quintillion dinar that has been printed up. When that much has been printed up, It means that these printing presses are going absolutely full-time, 24 hours a day for well over 10 years. There is so much dinar that is out there. Who in the world is going to be able to pay for all of that? And how do you know what is good and what is not? How do you know what's clean and what is not? Here's an example. The boxes. These boxes are sealed, and they're put out by the Central Bank of Iraq. And they've got barcodes, pin codes, passcodes on them so they can be traced back to an accounting record that supposedly the Central Bank of Iraq will certify. And because of this information on the box, they will say it was printed up this day, boxed this day, and yes, we're verifying it. Well, these boxes have remained sealed with the estimation and the understanding that there's 1 billion dinar on each side. Well, in the last 3 and 4 weeks, we have now found out that these processing centers or these buyers that are buying some of this dinar and they're opening up the boxes and they're finding that there's no dinar inside. It's just newspaper. What does that say? It means that the Central Bank of Iraq was involved in direct fraud in printing up hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dinar and putting them out there in a fraudulent manner, telling people that they've paid for this box of dinar that has 1 billion dinar in it and inside is nothing. What this means is the whole dinar world has become involved in so much fraud, so much corruption, and so much counterfeit that they cannot really, it's very difficult to understand what is real and what is not. And because of that, the buyers have quit buying. I've been in discussion again, in some very in-depth discussion with some of my clients and some of my sources, my very good sources, and they're just saying, we can't find it. I'm aware of what is called the End Processing Office that oversees everything here in the United States for bringing in the currencies. And they used to take loose dinar. And I'm familiar with a broker that well over a month ago that says, I have about 30 billion dinar I would like to bring in, and they said, we're not taking it. They quit taking loose dinar, and they would only take the boxes. And they will only take the boxes if they can open them and certify that is in there. What's that saying is there are hundreds and hundreds of quadrillion of dinar that's going to be sitting out there that's going to end up being basically nothing more than wallpaper or toilet paper that people have paid for. That also tells us that the government of Iraq was involved in in-depth, intense fraud of selling these boxes, getting paid for them when there's nothing in it at all. And we understood that most of that was happening under the Maliki regime, and that does not surprise us at all, because they basically had made billions and billions of dollars of selling empty boxes. That's what it appears. And so what's happening is the buyers, they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to mess with it. There's no incentive for them. They don't want to. Some of them can end up taking these on, and then they're stuck with it if it's their loss. And so they just don't want anything to do with it. So what does that say? The dinar market's pretty much done, folks. Now, could things possibly change? Yes. Is this absolute? No. But I would say it's 80 to 90% probability is that if you've got dinar, I'd sell it. Get rid of it, because it's probably you're not going to probably end up getting nothing for it. Absolutely nothing. If my information is correct, and if my intel is correct, that's basically what's going to happen. I do have a specific intelligence source that is very, very good. I'm not at liberty to get into any details about this individual, but let's just say he's been involved in the intelligence business for well over 30 years. He has worked with the private intelligence operations. He had spent years in both Afghanistan and Iraq. He knew the inside information and scoop of what was going on. This man is a personal friend of the president. He has been a personal friend of Donald Trump for over 20 years, and he has Trump's personal cell phone on his cell phone, automatic call number, and he basically can call him up anytime that he wants to. He's been a great source of intelligence. He knows what's going on the inside, and he's confirming almost everything that I've been saying that is here. He said there is so much fraud, so much corruption that is going on out there with the dinar, it's pretty much done. And he's in agreement with me as well that there's no more buyers for the Zim. So folks, if you've got, whatever you do is your choice. It's your choice what you want to do. But if you're going to sit on all that dinar, it's your choice if you're going to want to be sitting on a lot of nothing. if you're going to sell it, that's your choice, it's your decision. But here's what I can tell you. In the last 2 weeks, there has been a massive amount of increase that are people that are choosing to say they want to sell their dinar. I've only known of 2 sources that you could easily sell it. One is eBay, and that's you're selling it yourself. The other is this business called safedinar.com. But I had one individual tell me this is that they have had such a massive amount of new clients coming in, they basically quit taking people because there was just too many that were wanting to sell, and they had to get on top of it. It did open back up again a little bit later, but it just shows you. Now, there are some other sources that are out there. I'm not familiar with them, but folks, it's called use your computer. Do Google if you want to find somebody that'll buy your dinar from you. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be buying dinar for a long time because they're going to believe all the lies and the rumors that are out there, thinking that they can buy it and go make some money off of it. And that does not mean that there may not be a situation that sometime down the road that, you may be able to go into a bank and take it back. But I can tell you right now, if you've got a 25,000 note, and if you can take that dinar into the bank, it's going to be in the pennies, folks. Somewhere in that area. It's not going to be, in the thousands of % of return of what you paid for it, is where it is now in the private exchanges. If you have already turned in your dinar, if you have already given it over to a broker, and if you know that broker is authorized by U.S. Treasury, then you're in fine shape. But basically that means that dinar has already been gone through a Delarue machine, it's been certified, and it's been known to be it's good and it's safe. But there's so much that is fraud that is out there, and it's starting to come out of the woodwork now, and the counterfeit stuff's coming out of the woodworks, and these boxes that are filled with newspaper when they're supposed to have $1 billion inside are coming out of the woodwork. They're just shutting everything down. These buyers, as I said, they don't want to take the risk because they could end up signing a contract, and then if it's got bad stuff, they're stuck with it, and it's their loss. They don't even want to even go anywhere near there. Who would? The banks won't go there. So, folks, the dinar world is rapidly changing, and that's based on the intelligence that I have coming in. I would love to be wrong. I would love the fact that we could all go turn in all of our dinar and get paid very, really nicely. But when you've got quintillions, not quadrillions, but quintillions out there, who's coming up with the hundreds of quintillions of dollars to pay for that? Where's that money coming from? What does that kind of money do to a global economy? You see, so that's what we're running into there. Now, I also want to talk about, the delay that's been going on and why we have had this delay. First of all, I've got multiple intelligence sources that are saying there is absolutely no way you and I will ever be able to go into a bank in any way, in any form, and be paid the dinar at the higher rates. The banks just flat out are not going to do that. Why? For a couple years now, they've been putting out memos to all of their employees saying this is not going to happen. They are not participating in these huge rates of exchange for the dinar. They never will be. The dinar is not exchangeable. They have no plans on ever exchanging or trading any dinar, unless it comes back onto the foreign exchange market at the open foreign exchange rate. And that's what they've been saying to their employees. So what would happen if all of a sudden the banks were involved in the 800 number? What would happen if they were running all of these 6,000 to 12,000 processing centers that all these blog sites are talking about? What would happen is there would be a massive lawsuit, class action lawsuit from tens of thousands of bank employees all around the world filing a class action lawsuit against the banks for flat out lying to them and breaking the policy that they had announced to all their employees. Imagine yourself. You're a teller in a bank making $12 to $14 an hour. You've seen multiple memos officially from your leadership, from your officers, saying that they're not going to be involved in it and they never will. And then all of a sudden these people start coming in with all this money to put into their bank accounts, and you've been told it's never going to happen officially on paper, and you find out that your bank was involved in the 800 numbers. You'd be pissed. Absolutely pissed. Not to the point of being pissed. you'd probably be jumping into that class action lawsuit, because they flat out lied to you when you had the opportunity to participate in this process. You had the opportunity to have a very, very, very good, healthy return, to basically become a multimillionaire. And because you believed your management, you chose not to, and they flat out lied to you. Can you see the liability issue of the banks if they choose to become involved in anything? They don't even have to do it publicly. That's why you're never going to be able to take your dinar currency or your ZIM into a bank and exchange it. If it does happen, it means that those two currencies have come back onto the open foreign exchange market, and you're basically going to be able to exchange it at the current published rate of what you're paying for it right now, and there will not be a gigantic increase. Don't ever expect that to happen at a bank. It's only going to happen in the private exchanges. Others who will say, yes, it is. Yes, there's the 800 numbers. We're just waiting for them. And all these thousands and thousands of processing centers. Well, who's running those processing centers? The only people that have the trained employees to do that are the banks. And that's why it isn't going to happen, because can you imagine the liability of tens of thousands of bank employees all across this country joining this class action lawsuit because they were flat out lied to? That's why you're not going to see that happen, in my estimation. And people can say whatever they want to say. And all these people who are out there endorsing and espousing and talking about the 800 numbers, whoever their intel sources are, if you go back and you realize almost all of them, their intel sources are what I call intangible. They're not really like real people in a real bank, in a real place, working in contracts that is coming out through the whole complete, what you call the international treaty agreement system that I am aware of. And as I've said many, many times, it says, if I can't find this to be tangible information, I just don't even share it. I'm not even going to go there in what I call, the non-tangible, the etherical world, of the world of channelers and elders and who knows what. They can say that all they want. That's their problem. I'm not even going there, because at the end of the day, if you want to have real money that's really tangible put into a real tangible bank account, it's going to come through a real tangible process. And right now, you've got a real tangible process that is filled with so much corruption and so much fraud that the buyers don't want to touch it. And at the end of the day, you can talk all you want about all the dinar that you have, all the blessings that are coming from God, all the stuff, all the private, what are called the exchanges, the private, I should say the promises that are out there. You can talk all you want, but there has to be a tangible, real world, a buyer who has trillions, if not over $250 billion, to buy it all, to pay it out at any type of a decent rate. When you've got quintillions of dinar out there, I mean, it would still cost quadrillions of dollars to only pay it out at 10 cents, let alone the $3 or $4 or $10 or $30 or the $68 that they're promoting on the website. So it's just, in a tangible world, it's a crazy world, folks. So I'm not even going to go there on that anymore. So now, what is another reason why that we have had this wait? What a lot of my sources have said, and I've been waiting to say this, is all the way back in 2011, from the very top at basically the corruption that was involved in this whole process, is that they were planning on paying out, the banks were going to pay out all the people who had dinar, and then they would basically collect, we would take our money that we got paid, put it into our bank accounts, and a short time later the banks were going to do what is called the bail-in process. They basically were going to collapse. Now, if you remember back in 2008 when the banks collapsed, the government said there were these banks that were too big to fail, and so the people, the government, bailed them out. And then they changed this law that instead of being bailed out by the government, the banks will be able to be bailed in by their own depositors. And that is a law that basically means when you and I put money in the bank, we basically have surrendered our currency to them, and they own it. And if they are going to go under, they have the right to go into our accounts and freeze and take the money in our accounts, and then they replace it with stock. well stock that's worth absolutely nothing. And what we had heard is that the corruption in this whole system was so bad, they were waiting for the hundreds of trillions of dollars to be paid and for these people to put them in the banks, and then they were going to do a bail-in process. And that means that they could have illegally stolen from us these hundreds of trillions of dollars. And one of my best intel sources had said that was the plan. That was the plan. And they even said if Clinton would have been elected, that would have happened. And when Trump got elected, it was reversed. He was aware of it, and he basically has been working at shifting the system. The law on the bail-in process has not yet changed, but that problem is still there, and they have been needing to clean up that system. They have been needing to clean up that process and to make it safe for us. And that is some of the best and most credible information I have received on why we have been waiting and why we're waiting for this process, to get done. And what I am understanding is that they are basically right there. I keep getting here and say it is day to day. It's a matter of procedures. It's a matter of logistics. It's not a matter of the money being there, because the money is there sitting in the bank accounts ready to start the process. But they're waiting for the process and the logistics to be totally safe for us, so that that bail-in process would not be able to be used against us, so we would end up losing everything that we had put into it. That is, to me, is one of the most credible things that I have heard about why we have been having to wait for such a long time. There's just, in a real tangible world, you have to believe that there's going to be massive amounts of greed and corruption when there's this much money that is out there available to move. And it's not everything is just nice, neat, and safe, and it's not that the elders have gone in and taken over the cabal, because that ain't happened. Those cabal are out there still alive and well and working in a very corrupt and fraudulent manner today. In a tangible world, that's what is going on. So, you've heard about the fraud, the corruption, and the counterfeit that's going on. You've heard about the waiting that has been going on. You've heard about what I talk about, why I believe that the banks are not going to be involved because of the problem of class action lawsuits from the employees. About you've heard about the bail-in process, how the banks could have used in that as a legal means to basically steal all the money from us. And who are we going to go complain to? Who are we going to complain to when basically, the government has approved their bail-in process, which means the government was allowing the process to happen as well. That's what's been going on out there, folks, in this world, this very real world that is going on. Now, there's a lot of people that are also writing that they're waiting for Iraq to get lined up. They're waiting for Mosul, to be under control, so Iraq, that their country and the central bank of Iraq is in good shape. I'm going to repeat this, and I've said this many, many times before. In the private exchange, what is happening inside the country of Iraq has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on a private exchange. None. Because this is not Iraq buying their currency back as the open foreign exchange process does. Even if they were waiting for that, I would come back and say, where's Iraq getting the hundreds of quadrillions of dollars to buy back these quintillions of dinar? They don't have it. They don't have that kind of money. And last week you heard me say this, one guy in the program, well, it's about the oil exchange process. Well, the oil in the ground in the country of Iraq is only worth $10 trillion. How is $10 trillion of oil in the ground going to pay for hundreds of quadrillions of dollars needed to buy this currency back? You see, if you're waiting for Iraq, you're waiting for a country to buy it from you. At the end of the day, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. There has to be somebody that has the money to buy it from you and me and everybody else that has all these millions and millions of boxes. And Iraq doesn't have that kind of money. They don't have it. And I don't know any of the elder groups or these large foundations anywhere that are giving them that money to do it. So what's happening inside the country of Iraq means absolutely nothing about this process. If it does, and if there's going to be a revalue process, it's probably only going to revalue at pennies, folks. And that's about it. Because that's all the money that they have. Always at the end of the day, follow the money. Okay? That's basically the update. that I'm given. And there's a lot of very strong information in that. And there are people that are going to adamantly disagree with what I had just had to say. I don't care. I trust my sources that are coming on this. These are very credible sources. Let me just say this. The information that I'm giving you is only about 20 to 25% of what I know of what's going on. The other stuff, I can't even talk about it. It's too confidential. It would reveal some of my sources. There's some of it we're still looking at. When I bring this stuff to you is because it's information that comes from very, very credible sources that come right from the top that are involved in this whole process and they know it. Some of you have complained about 3 years ago that, I would say that, well, that was a learning curve for me. When I was involved with some of the others, 2.5 to 3 years ago, I was starting out in this just as you were. I was starting to get these contacts. And if you noticed, after a while, I didn't talk about them anymore. I don't communicate with them anymore. So if I'm bringing you a source publicly, and if I'm no longer in communication with them, and if I'm no longer talking about them, it tells me I don't trust them as a source anymore. And that's why I don't do that. And some of you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into that. I'm not even going to mention any names. But I'm telling you right now, the sources I have now are very highly confidential, and I can't even mention their names. These are the type of people that if it got out into the public, what I was saying, that their lives could possibly be in danger. And here's what I've come to, and I've said this many, many times. The real people with the real money that know really what's going on will never, ever, ever come onto the internet and talk about it or really reveal their names of who they are. So when you have all these others talking about the grandfathers, the real grandfather that I know would never talk to anybody that is giving this information directly onto the internet. He won't talk to me because I am a public face. He can't take that type of a risk. When you got this kind of money with people with very, very big and real guns that are willing to kill people in a heartbeat to be able to have this power and control, believe me, the real sources of the real money can never go public. So I always have to be extremely careful about what I talk about, and I have to be extremely careful who I'm talking with. And when I'm talking with people on the phone, if I'm not using a secure communication, it's because I know that what I'm saying is that the people who would be listening, they already know this stuff anyway, so I'm not saying anything that is new. That's the real tangible world that is out there, folks. And in this real tangible world, do I absolutely believe that there is going to be an exchange? Yes, I do. Because I'm in touch with the people who are at the very top, who are the what I call the coordinators of this whole process. And I had mentioned that there was always these 4 groups. There was, like me, I would be considered an aggregator. I'm bringing in people, aggregating them together. There's aggregators, then there's brokers, and then there's buyers, funders, and then there's coordinators. And at the end of the day, the coordinators are the ones who are basically the final decision makers in all this going on. Now, some of you have also emailed me a lot in the last week and says, well, how would you know? How can you be involved in this? Remember, I've said there's round 1 and there's round 2. Now, those are my terms that I use. Don't tell me about tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4 because there's 100 different definitions of what all these tiers mean. Now, I'm kind of facetiously saying that, but what can be a tier 1 or 2 to some people is entirely different to somebody else because there is no legal or final definition of what tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4 mean. People use that, say those terms using their own, putting their own definitions to them. To me, the terms when I say round 1, it means these are people who have already turned in their currencies to brokers and to buyers. And the buyers have collected these currencies, but the buyers have not yet funded the currencies. And that is what we are waiting for. Some of us did this 2.5 years ago. I have 5 different contracts that I am involved with brokers and buyers. None of them have been paid yet. None of them have been paid. And those are the ones of the people that are involved in round 1. They have already turned in their currencies. They've gotten receipts from brokers and buyers, and we're waiting to get paid. After round 1 is funded, I then have those of you that are on my list that are still holding your currencies, and we will do a round 2. I have buyers. I have 5 different buyers that have plenty of money that are willing to pay for it and to buy those currencies from us, because they know that we are predominantly going to use the massive amounts of those dollars for humanitarian aid issues all around the world. So the buyers are there, but we do not yet have the clearance from the coordinators. They are the final say in this process. When the coordinators tell us it's a go, then it's a go. If you ask me the probability of those of you on my list for round 2 getting funded, I would say it's 80 to 90% yes. It's a very, very high probability that all of you are going to be able to be funded in the currencies. But I want to be very clear. We are not buying Zim. We are not going to take in Zim. Zim is done. It's done. Zim was a limited currency for a limited period of time for a limited number of people. If you got a bunch of Zim, you're holding wallpaper. As of now, it appears dinar is done as well. Some of you are asking, well, will you buy my dinar? I can't buy anything. I am not a buyer. I don't have the money. I am not a broker. I am an aggregator is what I am. But we, myself, and brokers, we cannot find any buyers who are buying any more dinar. At the end of the day, somebody has to buy it. Somebody has to pay us for it. So if you've got dinar, don't expect that to come with me. That could change, but I doubt it. The dong is good. The buyers are saying it's good. The brokers are saying it's good. And the coordinators are saying the dong is good. The dong is the one that is it's the only one of those currencies that are openly traded on the open foreign exchange market. Don't ask me about the Indonesia rupiah. Don't ask me about the Iran rial. I cannot find anybody that's buying them, folks. You may have somebody out there that's a broker that's taking it from you, but that broker has to give you a solid contract, and that broker's got to find a buyer. It could be the broker is wanting to take it from you, hoping that they can find a buyer. But at the end of the day, whatever you're involved in, it's your choice how you want to do it. There has to be a buyer that's going to buy it and pay you for it. Otherwise, somebody's just ending up with a bunch of wallpaper. So, the process is round 1 is the people have already turned in their currencies. And that's been a process that's been going on for almost 3 years. We're waiting for that to be funded. Round 2 will be those of you that are on my list that I will move forward with about 1 to 2 months after round 1 is finished process. Please understand, I am not accepting any forms. I am not asking for any forms to be filled out at this time. We are just waiting. If you want to know how do you get on that list, you go to my website, thesedonaconnection.com. You click on the Humanitarian Aid Exchange link and you fill out that form. The only thing I am doing at this time for round 2 is collecting a list of names. That's it. That list of names is private. I am the only one who has it. I do not release it to anybody. I do not sell it to anybody. I will not do that. That is a private and confidential list that I have in my databases, and that is all that I am doing at this time in round 2. There are no forms to fill out yet. That will start when the process for round 2 starts. But round 2 process will not start until at least 1 to 2, if not 3 months after round 1 funding is completed. So a lot of you have been asking, well, what are these forms that I need? There are no forms, folks. That was back to something that was old 3 years ago, that is outdated, has totally changed, that I had talked about. You will have to fill out forms if you want to proceed in a private exchange. You're going to have to fill out a non-disclosure agreement. You're going to have to sign a limited power of attorney contract. You're going to have to fill out a client information sheet. You're going to have to submit a color photograph of either your passport or your driver's license. And you will also be expected to give us your bank information so that we can send the money to where we can send the money via a money wire transfer. But none of that is collected. I do not want any of it until it is time to proceed. When it does come time to proceed, I am not going to collect physical documents. I don't have the room or the time, or I do not want to create 8 to 10,000 physical files with all these documents in it. It will all be done electronically over the internet. And so, folks, if you don't know how to take scan documents, turn them into PDF documents or JPEG documents, and email them to me, then you better learn how to do it. Because if you want to be a multimillionaire, then you need to learn that this is the digital age. This is not the physical document age anymore. Okay? There's ways to do that. I send you a form. You basically print out the form. You sign it in blue ink so that we know it's an original signature. And then you take a scan of it, so a color scan of it, and that's what you would email into me. But none of that is happening until it is time to proceed, and we're still months away from that. Okay, so with that, I think I've covered all of the information that I wanted to get onto tonight. There is an email that came in and says, if we are all buying dong to exchange, won't that mean it will be overprinted for the high sudden demand? No, there is no high sudden demand on the dong. The dong is controlled by the government of Vietnam of how much they print out. And believe me, first of all, folks, there's only going to be 6,000 to 8,000 people who are going to basically, listen to this. If you notice, very, very few of the other blog sites, the Dinar Guru sites, they don't talk about the dong. They're only talking about dinar and zim. That's all they talk about. They don't talk hardly at all about the dong. And so there's not going to be overprinting, because I'll tell you, Vietnam's not going to overprint it because they are responsible for it, because it is a currency that is traded on the open foreign exchange market. If they overprint, they got to be responsible for what they've put out there. And so we do not have hundreds of millions of boxes of of dong that is out there. The vast majority of all the dong is loose dong that you purchase either at a bank or through a broker or online or some other means. And folks, 6,000 to 8,000 people on this list are not people that have billions of dollars to buy dong with. That isn't going to happen, okay? And secondly, the coordinators are following and watching and knowing how much is being purchased and how much is being printed. And if it comes to the point where there's too much, they'll just shut it down. They'll say, we're not taking it anymore. It's that simple. So no, that does not apply. The dong does not apply to the same scenario as the dinar. Okay? All right. I think I've covered everything I want to cover in this tonight. Blanca, share with me your thoughts and your comments.
Well, one thing, and I think most people will see this as well, that this has been a fluid process. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good, because I was hearing an echo there, and now that's gone, so that's good. No, that it's been a fluid process, and that as time goes, things get cleared. I think part of it is, too, as the people who are engaged with this realize that there's a vulnerability in a certain area, they'll change direction. And so I think for people to expect that you're going to be talking to the same people or saying the same things, as time passes, that's unrealistic. I'm glad you have a fresh message or update us, as you get additional intel, even if it's something that it might be people don't want to hear. I know a lot of people got very excited about the dinar and got excited about the zim, but I think for you to give your perspective on these currencies, although, some people may not like it, I think some people will appreciate it as information so that they can then process that information and decide whether they want to stay with it or perhaps take a look at getting some dong. So you've been in this longer than me, so you probably recognize it's a changing picture all the time.
It's a constantly changing scenario. Nothing on this is etched in stone. This is not something that was ever designed for us at this level. It was always designed originally for the very top, what you call the sovereigns, i.e. the countries, and the extreme elite. They were the ones that were going to be involved in this process in the beginning. We were latecomers to this process, and they don't make decisions, based on how we feel about it. Those of us that are the everyday moms and pops are only a very, very small percentage of everything that is out there in dealing with the currencies and the bonds. And when you talk about, see, I don't talk about bonds. I'm not a bond specialist. I don't focus on the bonds. There are others that are. But the bonds are worth a lot more money than what the currencies are. I focus on the currencies because I focus on what I can do to help what I call the moms and pops, the everyday people. That's always been my passion and my desire to help all of us through this process. But at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our decisions. And I've also, what I forgot to say is that, folks, just do the math, do the math, do the math. Why in the world would you be holding on and hanging on dinar when you can get 2 to 4 times the rate of return by doing dong? It cost you 13 times more US dollars to buy 1,000,000 dinar than it does 1,000,000 dong. And believe me, the dinar is not trading at 13 times more than the dong. It's only trading at 3 to 4 times more. So you could turn around, sell your dinar, take a 50% loss on what you paid for it, buy dong, and when you exchange your dong, you would still come out with 2 to 3 times more money than what you had in the original amount of your dinar. So why would you even hold on to that dinar? I mean, just do the math, folks. It's common sense. But if you want to hold on to your dinar, and if you want to be that stupid, and if you want to take the risk of having nothing but a bunch of wallpaper and having lost thousands and thousands of dollars, that's your choice. That's your choice. If you believe you've got better information than what I'm sharing for you, that's your choice. I'm giving you the information that comes out of my intel sources. I have about 4 or 5 very, very good intel sources. We talk about this. I talk with all of them multiple times a day, and I collectively bring this in, and I find that the vast majority of us are all in agreement with what I share. And these are people that don't even know each other, and they don't even talk to each other, but we're all on the same page. That tells me a lot. That's what I look for. I look for my sources that we're all on the same page because I know where they get their information from, and that I get to be a collective voice of basically my sources that I bring this to you. So what I share with you is what I consider to be very, very good sources. And I've told you about where some of those sources come from. I now have 3 people that have direct access to the White House. I have 3 different people that have access to the coordinating center. And this coordinating center is the end of the road for all the currencies. They are the decision makers. I have contacts with some of the largest currency brokers in the world that have contacts all around the world. So I have contacts with real tangible banks that are involved in this process. And these banks are not commercial banks. They're what are called merchant banks, and they're on the other side of the ocean. So these are very real tangible people that really know what's going on, and I get multiple sources from all of them. I have very good contacts with people that say that they are in touch with the only really true one, what they would call elder or grandfather. That is the decision maker that holds these. And you've also heard that I have contacts with 5 of the largest trusts in the world that have, the minimum one has 40 to 60 zeros in their accounts. And in spite of having all this money in their accounts, they can't even write a check because, see, the IMF, the World Bank, and the U.S. Treasury won't let them write these checks because any one of those trusts could totally take over the world if they could freely spend their money. And they'll never allow that to happen. So that's where I come from when I share this information with people. But at the end of the day, everybody, you're responsible for your own choices. You can take the information that I give you. You take that into account. You do what you want to do. If you think your sources of information are better than mine, that's your choice. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to fight with you. I'm here to give you information. So, Blanca, back to you.
Yes, so I think that's good to underscore that you feel very good about the resources that are, or the sources that are giving you this information, and so you are just turning around and sharing that which you can share as information, but ultimately the choice is up to the individual. They have access to other sources of information, and so this is really, again, we had talked about that in another show, self-responsibility, which I think is a good practice, especially if we're going to have the opportunity to have all these funds. We better practice using our noggin, putting it in gear, and
Well, and
what makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
and it's what I said before. After you strip everything away, at the end, at the very bottom of the line, it's called follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. Where's the money coming from to pay you? Because at the end of the day, you want real tangible money in a tangible bank account that you can spend. So where's that money coming from? And that's what you always want. And I try to do that. As I said, when I first started in this process, I had a couple of sources that I thought were very credible, were very good. I later found out that they were not. It's not that they were bad people, but it's just that there wasn't credibility behind the things that they said, because after 6 to 8 months of all these reports, and I could never find one bit of tangible evidence to back up what they were saying, I thought, and I started backing out. But in the process, because I was public and out there, people would start coming to me. I would have sources start coming to me. They would say, I've been listening to you for 3 and 4 months, and you're credible and you're honest, and I appreciate what you're doing. And just these relationships would develop. Some of these people would show up at my workshops, Others, it was through contacts that I've had and phone calls that I've had. And so I've collected these sources. I think, I'm the only one that I am aware of, and what others that tell me, I'm the only one in the world that's doing this, like this, out in the open, on the radio, and on YouTube live streaming, that comes from real tangible sources. So others have their calls, but if you know what is the quality of their sources and where are they following the money, they aren't following the money, because they will never talk about who's paying for it and where the money's coming from, because they can't, because they don't know. See, so they just report what they tell. And I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm just saying, give me the tangible evidence of what you're talking about. Show us something that's hardcore tangible, and they can't do it. So, yeah. Back to you, Plunk.
Right, and then it seems like it's, I'd say, crystallized. You probably had these thoughts, and I know some of the people raise these issues, because you started out saying around the 2011 time frame that it looked like there were individuals who wanted to take advantage of this particular process and were going to use the banking bail-in laws to perhaps collapse the banks, I imagine, and take money.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you're saying your sources are kind of saying that was a scenario, but it sounds like also you were saying, but that is being addressed, that's
it is
front and center being addressed.
Yes.
Because I know people are going to say, "Oh, what if the money comes? Can we trust the banks?" But it sounds like you're saying that is really something that they're being proactive to make sure something like that doesn't happen. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And let me make a comment on that. We were able to openly discuss that in the workshop in Philadelphia over the weekend for everybody that was there. And we all kind of came away with this conclusion. When you get your money is going to be put and wired into a single bank account. Then in a very short period of time, you want to take that money and spread it out. Spread it out, spread it out, spread it out. You want to put some into small regional banks that don't have this high exposure to the derivatives market, because it's the derivative markets that's basically would collapse the banks. That's because that's just empty, worthless paper that nothing is backing it up, that they're making loans on and trading on. So you want to find small regional banks that aren't exposed to the derivative markets. You want to put some money into credit unions. We also found out by using stock brokerage accounts. Those accounts are accustomed to having, clients with millions and millions of dollars in them, and they're all highly insured, much better than what FDIC can do. And so those are safe places because they can't go through the bail-in process. So you can put it into smaller banks, you can put it into credit unions, you can put it into brokerage accounts, you can go out and buy literally, large sums of cryptocurrencies that are out there now, and you can move some of it into banks in other countries. And I will be doing all of that. I right now have 3 bank accounts here in the United States. I have another 2 to 3 that I will open up. I have a bank account in Hong Kong. I have 2 brokerage accounts, and I have access to the cryptocurrencies. And I will also go down into Mexico and open up a bank account there as well. You want to spread it out far and wide, folks. So that way, if any one system collapses or tries to rip it off, you don't end up losing everything. Do that homework now. Find out, where would you put this money and how would you do it? I'll still use the big 4 bank accounts because I use them as my administrative accounts, but they will not be my holding accounts. They won't do that. I don't trust this system, but you can't get away from the banks, folks. You can't. we are dependent upon a banking system if you want to be able to move money. That's something that we don't have an option in. Now, the cryptocurrency market is starting to change that. Now, let me mention, though, one thing I am already in discussion with, and we think we're going to do this. I have some of my great clients that are already in the process of working on setting up a sovereign bank on a Native American reservation. That bank will be a sovereign bank. It's not subject to, the heavy, Federal Reserve banking regulations issues. The other option is for us to go and buy our own bank. And there would be enough of us collectively. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of money to buy a bank, but we could go out and we could buy a small bank. And the bank doesn't have to be a big bank, but we know that if we were ones that were a part of this, and the funds that you get, if you wanted to put your money into that bank, it would be a safe bank because it's a bank that we'd be in collectively. So I'm already in discussions with others about that, about us buying our own bank so we can have a safe bank to put it into. And the board of directors will be made up of people who have, lots of money from these currencies so that we're all in this together. And the other thing is finding other banks that are safe, because especially the ones that are, that are basically on the Native American reservations, because they don't have to follow the same laws and regulations out of state. The states cannot regulate them at all, and they are much safer in the whole federal process. We're working on this. We're looking at that as options. Please don't send me a bunch of emails asking me about it. I don't have those details, and I'm not ready to share that. But that is something that we are looking at doing, and we will probably do. So, okay. Any other comments?
Well, that was a very good addition, because I know folks are saying, what do we do in the future? And so that sort of counsel to start looking at what you want to do with your money and where do you want to set it, I think it's good. We've got the time to look into it, and there are options. Start talking to folks, and that sounds very exciting, some of the things that you said you were taking a look at.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had talked about the cryptocurrencies. There's some and you've mentioned it before, people who are talking about this. You mentioned Cliff High, and Vic Sweer talks about it. Several people are talking about cryptos. It takes a little bit of a learning curve, and you definitely want to know what you're doing. But there's a lot of people out there who are already starting to talk, starting to educate listeners about it. And so this way you have a comfort level about cryptos before you have your money, your funds, and are going to want to invest in that.
Yeah.
Plus, investing in cryptos, you're bolstering an alternative system, not based on the centrally controlled banking system. So it's like a win-win situation in that case.
Right. And in the past couple of weeks, I've had Jason on board, and and he said he was willing to help. It's really important for you to understand. I will not give out his email. He cannot handle, having 6,000 people having his email. It would just swamp him. But if you email me, I forward your email on to him. He was at the workshop in Philadelphia over the weekend, and he did say to us he does not have time to give individual counseling, but he's doing lots of great research, and he will add your name to a database, and then he will forward that type of information on to you on a regular basis to help you through that process. And he will be on here in a couple minutes, and I'll let him explain that a little bit more. But I bring Jason on because Jason has been a very, very good, credible source for me. And he is a professional, highly professional market trader, very well experienced in it. So that's why I allow him to come on the program here. So anything else, Blanca?
No, I think we covered. Also, I like the fact that you continuously kind of remind us of the different parties involved, so that people can understand who's involved and who's who. Like you say, it makes it a tangible thing. You talk about the aggregators and the broker buyers and the funders and coordinators. It's nice to get an idea of what's really involved. And then, of course, you've started talking about the coordinators and the very important role that they play. So I appreciate that you've kind of put that sort of information out there so we can start getting an idea of, who's really involved in this. And there's a degree of comfort that we know what's going on to a certain degree.
The buyers are the ones who have lots of money, and these very, very large trusts would fit into that category. But the coordinators are the ones who control everything. They are the ones that tell these large trusts, you can't write a check. Or these are the countries that are part of this international treaty agreement, the white hats that are there involved in it. Because, it's just simple common sense that the U.S. government is going to watch and monitor how much money is coming into the country, because if there was too much money that came in, it would be a national security interest issue. If a person had 10, 15 trillion dollars, they can almost take over the world. I mean, just look at what George Soros has done with only a few billion. Now imagine you had 50 trillion. You see, that's why they won't allow that to happen, because a person who has $50 trillion could become a national security interest issue. That could basically almost shut the country down. And that's why they regulate how much money is going to be released. And that's why you're never going to get $100 trillion for your ZIM. You may get it, but you will never be able to spend it. Let's just put it that way, okay? You may end up getting some of this stuff, but you will never be able to spend it, because that is what is regulated, how much of that you can actually spend. So, okay. Anything else, or are we ready to go on to Jason?
Yeah, I think we've got some callers coming in. Of course, if they want to ask questions, you may want to give the number and to press 1 so they don't jump on all at the last minute.
Yeah, folks, because we still have plenty of time for callers for the rest of the program. And
right.
if you want to, if you have questions or comments, the number to call is 515-605-9356. Again, that number is 515-605-9356, and that number is also on my website. And then when you call in, you press 1 on your touch-tone phone, and that lets us know that you would like to come on the air, and then Blanca will basically go through and do some screening for you. But Blanca, I'm ready to go on to Jason, and then you can go on to the others, because he's the first one at the top of the list. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Okay, Jason, you're here. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing good. It was good to see you and your wife over the weekend. Glad you were there in Philadelphia, and it's always nice to make contact with you. So.
Yeah, man, it was a real special time, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about your workshop in Philadelphia. I know your listeners sometimes might think that you might write me a check once a month when I say stuff like this, but you've never written me a check. You don't pay me to say anything. You don't let me into your workshops free. You and I have never really exchanged any money as it goes to, as far as just being involved in this entire process. You and I are friends, and that's it, and I just call it like it is. But what I want to say is that we came to your first workshop earlier in the year in Orlando, which we thought was phenomenal. It was well worth a 9-hour drive for us. Then we came to your workshop in our home state in Charlotte, and we're blown away not only by how much more we picked up the second time, but also we noticed from just 3 months, a lot of your slides changed. Just like you always say, as the process develops, as you learn more, as you go forward, your workshops have changed. And now in Philadelphia, again, about probably a third of your slides and some of the videos you showed were absolutely not the same as what we saw when we were in Charlotte. And again, we picked up a lot more. We sit there, we take a lot of notes, we talk about it when we leave. And I got to tell you that, you talked the last couple of weeks about, people being addicted to whatever the news is or whatever. And I think it's okay if your listeners can kind of get addicted to your show, because I realize every time you and I talk, you've learned, like, maybe one time it might be 20 new bits of information, not just about this exchange, but about everything. And then the next time I talk to you, it might be 10. And then the next time I talk to you, it might be 15. And then I get into your workshop and I see all that come together in a format where, it's really good for people to be there. And so I just wanted to put that in there because, again, I'm one of those guys that I'm kind of like, one seminar, I'm good, I don't need to come back again. But I've come back to a couple based on just some notions I've felt from within. And, man, was I glad I did. I was really glad I did. I was really glad to connect with people. I am kind of a private person, and I don't really, I put myself out there in the limelight one time before in my life, and I had 6, 8, 10,000 people following me, and poof, they took over my life. And I really respect you from that regard. You have your real name out there, your real email address, your real phone number, And I just wanted to say before I went into anything else that we appreciate the workshops, and we'll definitely be to more workshops. And I think anybody on your list that hasn't been to a workshop, and listen, guys, don't come just to get the update. The update was phenomenal. Dave gave us an update in Philadelphia that went on for probably the first hour. I mean, it was sensational. But go to get everything. The workshops are phenomenal. So anyway, that's my plug. I know you didn't pay me to do that. You don't pay me for anything, but you're a friend of mine, and I call it like it is, and that's how it is, folks.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and sometimes it's nice to hear that other than someone from me. So I appreciate that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I had a few other thoughts if you
Sure.
oblige me.
Yeah.
The first one is about the exchange. I just want to tell you that what got me involved in the exchange was a friend of mine who is worth probably close to $100 million because he was involved in the exchange with the Kuwaiti dinar. But just like you mentioned on this call, how there's not going to be a public exchange, there was no public exchange or private exchange when he did that. He literally had to get his dinar to Kuwait to get it exchanged, and at that time the exchange rate was phenomenal. I hear now even anybody doing that with this is still only going to get those, $100 per 25,000 notes. So the best place to be is in a private exchange,
Yes.
in my opinion, with somebody who has a contract with a bank. And as those opportunities have arose for us, and in the future, we've kind of pushed in all of our chips. And I don't listen to anybody more except for Dave Schmidt. I used to have all these contacts inside the White House and everything else. And when they call, I go, okay, fantastic, thank you. I'll run it by Dave, and if Dave says he's heard it, we'll maybe put it in the queue. But otherwise, I just wanted to just throw that out there because it really backs up what you're saying about the banks. It's just not going to be a public exchange. It doesn't even make sense, and as you say, there'd be a class action lawsuit with 30, 40, 50,000 people in it.
Yeah, it would basically be their demise if they were involved in this after years and years of putting out official memos that this is never going to happen. They would, it would be one of the worst things that they ever did to themselves if they got involved in this. So
yeah,
that's why it's all private.
Okay, on to crypto.
Yeah.
On to crypto. I wanted to thank all your listeners for actually reading the email that I sent out. I sent a very, very long email out, Dave. That was what we call email number 1. And in this email, I told people right in the front of it as a disclaimer that please do not email me. I do not have time to even look at the emails. I don't need my box filled up with them. And other than just a few people saying thank you, which was great, nobody did that. It was fantastic. And I put out, Dave, about 50 hours worth of studying of what to do, what not to do, look out for this, go here, don't do this one, do this one to people. And I think that they got huge value from it. I've heard back from some of them already. I am preparing email number 2, which will go out sometime this week or first of the week. And one of the things I want your listeners to know, and I know you've been talking about cryptos here for the last little bit, is that I read an article yesterday, and right now I know a lot of people are waiting on this exchange, and I am too. I'm excited about it. Excited about all the things we're all going to do together. But this marketplace is catering to individual people, and right now it is creating a new millionaire every single week.
Yeah.
That's what this whole article was about. It's creating a new millionaire every single week.
Huh.
And so I kind of look at it like this. I'm creating my own cream right now. And when the exchange comes in, I'm going to have a whole bowl of cherries to put on top of it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But the most important message I want to get out to your listeners is do not wait. Somehow, some way, get involved, get a little bit of education and get involved, because here's what's going to take place, Dave. You're going to have a whole lot of people on your list that become millionaires even in round 1.
Yep.
And those people are going to scurrying to figure out, how do I get money into this marketplace? And I'm telling you, it's taken me the better part of 12 weeks to get to where right now, if I needed to, I could only put in, Dave, listen to this, $100,000 in a week. And it's taken me 12 weeks to make that happen. Now, on that same note, I want to say that, I have a friend in Vancouver.
Yes.
One of the most successful traders I know, 20 years in the market. He's my mentor. He trades a very large crypto foundation as well. I mean, he's awesome. Okay, but he's put me in touch with some people that are looking for some sources in the United States, and I'm in conversations with them about not only setting up ATM machines for people to be able to get Bitcoin, but also we will be able to make, like I know the other day he told me he bought 10 Bitcoins. He basically called in, bought 10 Bitcoins from them, and the money was in his account in 5 minutes. It's a commercial dealer, and we can buy Bitcoin, we can buy Ethereum, we can buy Litecoin, and what we're trying to do is get set up to where we will be able to serve not just anybody off the street, but most importantly, all the folks within your team that are going to be getting these millions and trying to figure out. Because let me tell you guys, Coinbase is out of business compared to these people. Kraken and Poloniex and everybody else, they're out of business compared to these people. These people have the ability for us to put this bulk Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin into the marketplace. And like I say, I truly want to get set up with them, not just for your group, but also just in general, because I see the frustration people are having with Coinbase, and right now it's kind of the only source in the United States. Anyway, I'm going fast because I know you have a lot of listeners, but if there's anything you wanted to add to that, that's kind of what I wanted to share.
Oh, let me just say, add my name to your email list so I can get the stuff you're sending out, so I can just browse it and know what you're doing. Okay? Yeah, put my name on your list.
Perfect, yeah.
Because I didn't get that. And send me the copy of the one you already sent out, so I can know what it is you're saying. Okay?
I'll send it.
Yeah, good. All right, anything else?
Man, that's it, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
Good
Okay.
to see you.
All right, have a great week. Okay. Right. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, I'm going to go on to the first caller on the list that we have here. His name is Alan. Alan, you're on the air, and what can I help you with?
Dave, how you doing?
Hey, doing good.
Is it coming through clear?
Yep, you're coming through loud and clear. Doing good.
Great. I was just wondering what you thought about what if they just skip the banks and go directly and deposit the money in Bitcoin or some sort of cryptocurrency?
We can't do that. You cannot money wire into a Bitcoin account. And we're not going to do that because not everybody is going to want to do that. You see, when the currencies come in, I'm going to money wire. We will use a professional paymaster to money wire into your bank account. And then it's your responsibility what you do with it. Because not everybody wants to do cryptos. Not everybody understands that. And I'm not going to be responsible. Everybody knows what a bank account is. What you do with your money is your responsibility. So it would be money wired into the bank account that you designate for us to do that. And then from there, that's your responsibility. Don't ask us to do it for you. Don't ask us to send your money to 10 different places. I ain't going to do that. So, does that make sense?
Okay, I just thought it might be an interesting idea to do it that way.
Well, I know,
like
but not everybody wants to do Bitcoin. You see, and how do you money wire into a Bitcoin account? U.S. dollars. It doesn't, it's very difficult to work. I can money wire into a bank account from anywhere around the world. See?
That's true.
Yeah. So, and that's about the only way that, we can do that. So, yeah.
Well, maybe if they had that teleportation technology, they could just beam a pile of silver to everybody.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, we could just teleport the whole thing. Yeah. That's maybe down the road some decades or centuries, but right now we still got to use very tangible bank accounts. Okay.
Well, put me on the list for Jason, or if Jason, you're listening, put me on the list.
You need to send me an email, and I will forward your email to him.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah, send me an email, and I'll forward your email to him. Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. I'll do that.
Okay.
And
yeah,
I was talking to a fellow the other day, and they've got a private bank in the Bahamas, and then they're working with that Anishinaabe tribe to set up some banking and some different currency through them too. So, yeah, I might talk to them, this guy again, and see, exactly what they're doing. He's supposed to give me an update soon. So I don't know if it's some of the same people Jason's talking with.
don't know. Have no idea.
Don't know.
Yep. So.
Okay, well, that's it for me.
Okay. All right.
Hope you have a great evening.
Thanks, Alan. Okay.
Take care.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Okay. All right. Going to go to the next person on the list. His name is Paul from area code 702. Paul, you're on the air. What can we help you with tonight?
Hi, Dave. Thanks for all you do. I'm going to be coming with my partner to your Denver show.
Good.
And I just wanted to kind of cover three things fairly quickly. I've been involved in a number of purchase attempts for the ICOs. That's the initial coin offering. So I can talk a little bit about the crypto. And, obviously I'm looking forward to seeing you and hearing everything in Denver. And the third thing is about the financial institutions and some of the things that people might want to do. I know you talked about buying a bank. Having been through that process, I can tell you that's probably a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to facilitate. But let me start with the crypto stuff. For people who've never funded a Coinbase account, I have two quick bits of advice. It will take you at least a week. You must verify who you are with the Know Your Customer routine. And my partner and I bought Bitcoin yesterday. And Litecoin, and you will not have access to it for a minimum of 7 days. So, Coinbase is at its inception, and a lot of these ICOs, these initial coin offerings out there, these people are feeling around in the dark to get things done. So I just tried to participate in the Pillar pre-ICO sale last night, and it was a mess. I got a Gmail message 30 minutes late, and guess what? The ICO was completely sold out in 40 minutes. So we didn't get our coins.
Yeah.
But, with the proceeds from what you are talking about with the first round or with your round, let's talk a little bit about the financial formation. There are a number of corporations which will allow you worldwide to acquire the corporation, an existing corporation, and you can get a SWIFT number, which allows you to transfer money between banks just like a bank. It allows you to set up multiple trusts that your organization can administer, and it gives you anonymity, okay? And there are many different countries that offer these. Clearly, you might want to look at something like one of those types of corporations as opposed to trying to buy a bank. I can get a lot more specific in Denver when we see you on the 29th, okay?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. So in general, the one thing I'm curious about that I didn't think about until just now is the bank restrictions, which are slowing everything down. Do you know if that's related to HR 1667, the bankruptcy law that was passed in the Congress, but it hasn't made it to the Senate yet?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Whenever I hear that they have to fix something in Congress, I just get ready to throw out the throw out the calendar and go to next year. But I hope that's not where we're at this time.
I don't know. I don't have those details, so I don't know. So.
Yeah, I don't know either. Well, thank you, Dave, so much. I'll get off the air so somebody else can talk, but we'll see you on the 29th.
Okay,
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Okay, all right.
Take care.
Okay, going to go on to the next caller. Her name is Susan from area code 323. Susan, you're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Hi, Dave. It's your friend Susan from LA.
Okay, good. I recognize that voice.
Okay.
Yes.
Two things. I'm moving to Sedona, so I'll be your neighbor.
I know. I saw that. Yes.
Okay. And here's my question, my friend. You said in your little short piece of yesterday, I'm quoting, if you want to get some money, you better get rid of your dinar. So can you explain what you meant by that?
Sell it.
I'm on your list.
Sell your. I don't care, Susan. There has to be a buyer, and the buyers have quit buying. Nobody's buying the dinar anymore. We cannot find any legitimate buyers who have the money to buy it anymore because there's so much corruption and fraud in it. They've quit buying, which means if you don't get rid of it, you're probably just ending up with a bunch of either toilet paper or wallpaper, and you lost a lot of money in it.
Right.
Right now, we're still in a season. There are thousands of people out there who will buy it from you. So, and there's various places you can go to sell it. That's what I mean.
Right. So we shouldn't necessarily wait for your second to the people on your list.
I don't have a buyer.
Goes to that list.
I don't have a buyer for a dinar.
Yeah.
And we can't find any buyers for dinar. If there's no buyers, I can't do anything for you unless someone's going to buy it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
guess I understand now. Okay, great.
yeah, see, and then if you just simply
Wow.
do the math, take the money, go buy dong with it, and you would end up with at least twice the amount of return than what you'd get for your dinar. So, you know, it's also
Understood.
just a common sense to stick with the dong versus the dinar. Because it's just the rate of
Right.
return on
So
your
we
money.
shouldn't-
Yeah. And the dong is a safe currency, which means let's say all this falls apart and there's no buyers on anything anymore. The dong you can at least take back to the bank and get your money back. You can't do that with the dinar.
Right.
Yeah.
So none of us should be sitting around waiting for your list to
Nope.
become active because that may not happen. There's
It,
no
it may
buyers.
not. Yeah. You see, if there's no buyers, then your dinar is worthless. Unless you travel to the country of Iraq and spend it in country, it's worthless. It's the only place that has any value
Okay.
right now.
Sounds good to me. Thank
Okay.
you for clarifying
All right.
that. And I'll see you when I get to the land of enchantment.
The
Thanks
land
so
of
much,
enchantment
Dave.
of
Thank
Sedona,
you.
this wonderful place. Thank you, Susan. Okay. Look forward to you being here.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go to the next caller. His name is Phil from area code 562. Phil, you're on the air. What can we help you with tonight?
Yeah, hey Dave, this is Phil.
Yeah.
From Long Beach, and for one, for Susan, I exchanged mine a month and a half, well, probably about 3 months ago, and I got I don't know, around 670, something like that, for $1 million,
Uh-huh.
and on the dinar. But what I'm really calling about is that you have mentioned that these trust funds, basically, they, from what I understand, have their money in merchant banks across the oceans, and that they basically double anywhere from 6 months to a year or so, and or more. And what I'd like to know is where great dividends are they coming from? Whatever the bank invests in, and how can I get in on that?
You can't. You can't. This has
I
been
see.
a private off-market trading platform that has only been available to either sovereigns, i.e. countries, or select elite for the last 40 and 50 years. They're the only ones that have been able to be
Okay.
involved in these private off-market trading platforms. But that is changing, because when these funds are released, the people who have lots of money through the private exchanges and that were involved with the private, they will be able to participate in that. Now, we do not have the logistics. I have already been invited by 3 different brokers to be involved in the off-market trading platforms. And there's a high probability that I may be able to operate again as an aggregator, which means I will bring in professional staff, will set up a business, and that you can bring in your funds through me, and then I act as a single client with the off-market trading platforms. And there is a legal means about how they do this. I'm not at liberty to go into the details about it, here on the internet. But they legally are able to double their money every 2 to 4 months. And that is what has generated the funds that is going to pay for our currencies. It's these off-market trading platforms. So you can hear about all these people that are getting the money from the grandfathers, but show me the tangible real-world dollars. This is real-world tangible stuff that has been generated in these off-market trading platforms in a legal manner that is going to basically be paying for all of our currencies and bonds. That's where the money's coming from. I'm not at liberty to say who, where, what, and how. So, but that's what's there.
So you're saying that I won't be able to get into that, or that it's changing? And
You
I may
will
be
not.
able to?
You will not be able to get
Period.
into it until after we're done funding round 2, and I will have details at that
Right,
time,
right.
and I can't give you any details until then. But just know, that's the wise thing to do is you take about 80 to 90% of your money you get out of the currencies, and you put that into the trading platforms. You take a minimal amount to spend it, because if you can put, let's say you got $10 million, why spend it when you can put that into the trading platforms, and within 4 months you're going to have another $10 million. And 4 months after that, another $10 million.
That's exactly
And 4
what I
months after
wanna
that,
do.
another $10 million. I mean, that stuff will never stop. I mean, that's the wise thing to do.
Sorry.
And that's the shift and the change that we're going through right now that's being allowed to come forward.
Right.
Yeah.
One last thing. I have another email address I'd like to be able to use. Would you be able to transfer me back over to Blanca and
Blanca doesn't take emails.
update that for me?
Blanca doesn't take
Okay.
emails. If you have an email shift and change, you
Okay,
need to
so
email that to me. Blanca has nothing to do with the database that I have, okay? Of putting you on
Okay.
a list. She doesn't do any of that.
All right.
Okay?
My old email is good still. I just having some issues.
Well, if you want to use a new email, then email me that. Go to my website, go to the website and just sign up again with your new email. That's all you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thanks, Phil.
You're great, man.
All right, okay.
Love you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, we're going to go on to the next caller. And his name is Paul. He's from area code 404. Paul, you're on the air. What can we help you with tonight?
Thanks for taking the call, Dave. My questions are, one, Jason was commenting on an email that he sent out dealing with a lot of crypto research, and I wanted to find out whether or not that's something, once you get that email, that you would do a blanket send out.
I won't.
To,
No,
to the-
I won't.
to the listeners.
You will have to deal with that with him. If you want to get on his list, send
Okay.
me an email and I will forward his email. We will not give out his email on the air because the guy would be absolutely swamped with hundreds, if not thousands, of emails, and he can't handle that.
Understood, and I was
Yeah.
just more interested in the simplicity of possibly, once you get that report that you put together, if you just send us a blanket email.
No,
The
I
other-
won't do
the
that.
other Was,
No, I will not. I don't have time to micromanage 5,000 people. I just don't have time to do that. So I don't do that stuff. I cannot do that. Okay? I wish I could.
all right,
You see,
Sure. Okay.
if
The
I
other
made that
question
if
was,
I made that statement, I would have 400 or 500 people requesting me the same thing, and I just can't do that. I'm not
yeah,
joking
I
when I
just
say
didn't know
that.
if there was some simplicity in a mass email shootout.
You
The same
need-
way that
no.
you send out the email for
Because-
direct from me.
Paul, I would have to create the list. Okay, that takes a lot of time to start.
I thought you had the list.
No, I don't.
That were on the list.
No,
Meaning the list of all of the people on your list.
I have my email database list, but I am not going to send out cryptocurrency information to 18,000 people. I'm not going to do that because I'll get 1,000 emails back if I do that. If you want, if you want cryptocurrency, send me an email and I will forward that to Jason, and that's between you and him. Okay? Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Second question is, based on kind of this ongoing crypto bloodbath that's been happening, there was some information that came out relative to a stop point that would occur like July 23rd. I think that the information came as a fallout from Cliff High's, like a web bot, some particular report. Do you have anything that you can share with regard to the ending of this, incredible fall in the crypto world?
I haven't read the report, so I can't make comments on it because I don't know how to comment on something I haven't read, so I don't know.
Okay, it wasn't necessarily about stating something to that effect, but just whether or not you've heard anything about this fall coming to some end.
I have not. I haven't heard anything about it.
Haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Great.
your time, Dave. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Enjoy
All right.
the
Thanks a
call.
lot. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. I'm going to the next caller. His name is Terry. Terry, you're on the air, and what can we help you with tonight?
Yeah, Dave, you was talking about that bail-in
Yeah.
that they were trying to plot and put together. I don't know if you, maybe I missed it. Did you elaborate on they had come up with any kind of solution for that, or was working on one?
Well, that was all the way back in 2011 that was a part of the plan. And what my sources had told me, that if Hillary Clinton would have been elected, it would have been part of the plan, and it would have already happened. And Trump's getting elected is what put a stop to that, because he was aware of it and he has stopped it. And they are in the process now of cleaning that up. So it's safe for us. And that's why we're waiting. That's what's been explained to me. So, and that makes more sense than almost anything else I've heard.
You said it makes more what now?
More sense than anything else I've heard of why we've been waiting for so long for this stuff to happen. It does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Appreciate it, Dave.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. Jason, you're wanting me to come back on the air. You're back on the air, bud. What's up?
Hey, my friend, I just wanted to bring some good information to your guys. I went so fast earlier that I just wanted to be respectful to everybody else. But let me just tell you, based on what a couple of things your folks have said, I want to save everybody a lot of money, and I want to save them a lot of time.
Yeah. Good.
The first thing is, because I'm affiliated with my friend in Vancouver, and he has the background he's been directing me through his foundation to move most of my money out of Bitcoin for weeks now. Weeks. Even long before it's dropped all the way down to almost 2,000. Because we know, number one, the things that are about to take place with the hard fork. He's been teaching me about that. And we have a plan to go back into Bitcoin at the right date. And so for those people that have just called in and said they just ordered Bitcoin that'll be here in 7 days, that's my advice to them. Look to exchange that into another coin for sure right away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Bitcoin is losing its value and will lose its value because people are scared of the hard fork. That's why it's going down. People are selling.
Huh. Okay.
There's also a thing my friend has been teaching me about that he does in his foundation. He trades for people all over the world in cryptos. And he's been doing this, for a while now. But one of the things he's been teaching me too is about how to tether your money. And he's teaching me that too. So that's a way that through his foundation he can move out of a currency without putting it back into fiat dollars. And with the size business he has, it's easy to do. Number 2, ICOs. I'm not going to ever say this again. I'll just say it one time on the air. I put it in my very first email. People need to stay away from ICOs. I can give you 25 different companies that have come out in ICO, and everybody runs to buy the ICO on the day, and then they get their feelings hurt because they can't buy it. And I can show you 25 or 30 of them where if you'd have just showed up on the day that it hit the exchange, you could have bought it for less than it was in the ICO for. Less.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very, very important point. Not only that, but look, when you buy it in the ICO, the actual coin may not hit the market for 45 days. Your money's tied up for 45 days. You could have made money with it. Bitcoin could have gone up, and doubled, or Ethereum could have doubled, or whatever, but you missed all that opportunity rushing into these ICOs. And the reason people are doing it, Dave, is because a couple guys came out on YouTube and said, I made $93,000 in an ICO, and that's true. But they didn't even buy it as an ICO. They bought it 3 days after the ICO, after it had gone from 50 cents to $6. And people miss that part.
Yeah.
So I just want to give that warning to your folks. And then the last thing I'll mention is about what Paul said about the bloodbath. Again, it's not necessarily a bloodbath. It's that traders are scared because when people don't know what the future holds, they get scared. And so traders are bailing out of currencies right now to put their money on the sidelines to wait on what's going to happen with the hard fork that's coming up. You should see some resolution from it somewhere between the last week of July and maybe the first week of August. There'll be a resolution. And guess what, folks? The technology is not going away. So as these currencies sell off and they go down very hard, they are going to go right back up when this is over. These technologies are not disappearing. They're just not disappearing. So I just want to give that warning to these folks. And one of the best things I've ever done, Dave, since I've been involved in cryptos for the whole time, was send just a little bit of money to my buddy and put it in the foundation. And of course, because I've got an inside phone call to him, he's teaching me everything. Actually, he's even invited me to help him come trade this, but I haven't really committed to that yet. But it's one of the best things I've ever done in this trading arena, the whole bit. But one of the best things I did. Anyway, just wanted to give those warnings on those few things.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Jason. Okay. All right. Well, he was the last caller that I had. So, folks, we still have time. If you want to get in really quickly, and you got a question or a comment, call in right now. That number is 515-605-9356. Again, the number is 515-605-9356. 888-858-56. Press 1 on your touch-tone phone, and I don't have anybody on the list right now, so you're going to be the first one in if you get in there. So, Blanca, any other comments you would like to make? Anything you'd like to share?
Well, we had some good questions. I really think the fact that you have Q&A is good because you share a lot of information, but people they'll think about it in a certain way and they'll want a clarification. And I'll say, well, go ahead and ask, because if you've got that question, there's probably a few others who have it as well. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
And a lot of excitement about diversifying, now that you've brought that idea up. And, of course, a lot of people were asking about cryptos. But I think that's a good thing to hone in on. What I like about that, too, just energetically, if people start researching where they want to put their money and cryptos and all, they're already assuming they have the money. And that's very good. That's very good for adding to the energy to make it happen.
Good. Yep. So, okay, we did have one.
It looks like we've got someone come in. Yes.
Just one. I'll go directly to that person. Okay. All right. So
All right.
we had a person just come in from area code 925. So there you are, area code 925. You're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Hi, Dave. This is Kathy in California.
Yes, I recognize your voice.
And I have a question. I was just kind of wondering, have you heard anything about whether the United States has become a republic?
No.
Or the other thing is if the United States Treasury now has gold-backed currency?
No. And I'm going to tell you my opinion. It doesn't make any difference whether they're a republic or not. The bottom line, it's not the form of the government. It's the people who are in it, controlling it. You could have a republic and still have just as much corruption as we have today. Part of it, you have to remember where this came from. When you trace something where it comes from, this whole concept of wanting a republic goes back to the militia movement. It started predominantly by the militia movement out of Michigan. Most of the stuff that was happening in Reno came out of this militia movement based out of Michigan, and it has spread from there. And they spread these ideas that you got to have a republic. It doesn't change anything. Just because you have it doesn't make any difference whether you have a republic or not if you got corrupt people running it. It's the people running it, not the type. You see, we do just fine right now as long as we don't have corrupt people that we're having to deal with. And a republic wouldn't change that. You'd still have the same people there. You see, you have to totally change the people. And you have, how do you know and how do you guarantee that these people wanting to run this republic are going to be any different? We don't know. It doesn't mean anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I thought that the 5, Brazil, Russia, China, were creating the AIIB bank, and 209 countries were going to start trading in gold so that the parity in the trading would be more even.
That's
and that's
true.
Why I was wondering.
But we don't know that they're not corrupt. How do you know that they're not corrupt? We have none of this stuff. You see, here's what I've learned through this process. We used to think that we needed, to have the gold and the backed up the currency. At the end of the day, you and I want to know if we take U.S. money, whether it's fiat or not fiat, into a store, we can spend it. It's going to spend like $1 and we'll get our change back. That's the only thing that matters to us. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really, it's back to who's backing it up, not about what is backing it up. We could go to a complete gold standard backed currency, and then gold could collapse to 35 cents like it was in 1971. What good is that then? You see, so it's only as good as the people who are backing it up and the faith that is in it. That's what makes it good and credible. Just because it's gold backed doesn't mean it's going to be better. You see, our U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency because the world trusts the U.S. and the U.S. dollar. They trust that. Now that's beginning to fall apart some, and it's not as strong as it used to be. You could have a small third world country with gold-backed currency, but yet it's not any stronger than the United States because that whole country could fall apart overnight, and then it's worth nothing. You see, it's back to the faith and the trust of the people that are backing it up, not what is backing it up. Does that make sense?
Okay, Dave.
Does that make sense?
Thank you so much, and
okay.
Thanks for what you do.
All righty. Okay.
All right, take care.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm going to go to a person by the name of Shane from area code 417. Shane, you're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
I guess that's named John, but anyway. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So the question was, you had, in talking about, I know part one is done, for those that turned in currency in that, you talked about part two. I was just a little confused between two things. You mentioned we need to sell dinar and get out of it, but you also said that there's the possibility that if you're on your list for the second go round, that there might be an 80 or 90% possibility that you'll be okay. Now, are you talking dinar or are we talking dong on that?
Dong only. Dong only. Dong only. Dong only. Just the dong. Nothing else.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just needed that clarified. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.
Alrighty. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. Okay, then let's see. I clicked on the wrong one. Here we are. Now I think I have Shane here. I'm sorry. I clicked on John, and I saw your name. But is this Shane? Area code 408?
Yes.
There we are. Okay. Now I got the right person. Thank you. What can I help you with tonight?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I met with you once before, and I would also like to know more information in regard to the Iranian Rial.
I don't know anything about it. I cannot find any buyers who are buying it. None. None of my sources can find buyers who are buying the Rial. And I'm not dealing with it. I don't want anything to do with it because we have, it's back to, it's just a bunch of collectible paper if you don't have a buyer. That's all it is. It isn't worth anything. The Rial is a trade. My understanding, it's a tradable currency, but it isn't worth anything more than what you can take it into a bank unless you don't have a buyer for the highest rate. And we don't know anybody who's buying Rial in the private exchange at the higher rates. Can't find anybody who's buying it.
Hello?
Does that make sense? Hello?
You blocked out, so I'll probably have to listen to it again.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Shane. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah. Okay. Blanca is in the process of basically screening another individual. Let's see that. Oh, there was no answer. So I think that's it. Blanca, are you back on the air? Are you back here? Let's bring you back. There we are. Blanca, you're back on. I brought you back. Are you there? Can you hear me? I hope I didn't cut you out. I'm looking at the list here. We can't find anybody else. So, Blanca, I brought. There you are. Now you're back. Oh, I know. Well,
try the 949 one.
Uh-huh.
Because I wasn't able to get them, but I'm not sure if it was me or them.
Okay. Let me go over to the 949 person right now and see if they're there, okay?
Yeah, see if they're there. Uh-huh.
Okay, this is Dave on the area code 949. Did you want to come on the air with a comment?
Hey, Dave. I had a quick question for you.
Oh, sure. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
I know you talked about the platform trades and everything. Are the private exchanges that are going through these platform trades, are they going to be partially put on the platform to fund some of these projects or anything?
Yes. Theoretically, yes, but we don't have those details.
Okay. And are they paid out through that? Or is it like a payout for like a certain amount of years, or just
don't know those details yet. We won't know those until that time happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay. All right. We got one more person that just called in from area code 918. Hello, area code 918. This is Dave. You're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Hey, Dave. I presume this would go without saying, but for those that you're just going to send in our emails to Jason, presumably he'll forward also week one details with the new details. I presume that will happen. I hope it does.
Oh, I'm assuming that all the new people that have come in, he will send out the week one letter because, in the half hour to 45 minutes since he first came on, I've already got over 70 people that are wanting me to forward emails to him. See, that's why I can't do that, and that's why he cannot individually answer everybody because the volume's just too large. We could spend 6 to 8 hours a day trying to take care of everybody individually, and we can't do that. So, So, but what I will do,
Understood.
I forward your email onto him. He puts you on a database list for his information. That's what he does. Yeah.
Perfect. Well,
Okay.
we appreciate what both of you are doing.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. All right. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Let's see. Blanca, I'm back with you.
Yes.
I think that's it.
I think that was the last call, or yeah, it was a little weird there for a while. And my computer crashed. But fortunately, Alan had me set up on the other computer.
Yeah.
So I was able to go ahead and switch to that one. So, but I think that's it. We got a good set of callers come in. A lot of excitement about Jason's information. So
There it is.
He's going to get a lot of requests there.
We just had a new person come in, area code 409. So let me go over to them, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Hello, area code 409. This is Dave. You're here on the air with me. What can I help you with tonight?
Yes, Dave. I just have a question about, I guess about a year or so ago, there was some talk of purchasing the Chinese yuan. What would be the status of that currency now?
That currency is an open tradable currency on the open foreign exchange market. And you can go online and purchase it or go into a bank and purchase it. But it is not a part of the private exchanges. Don't expect a huge return on it.
Don't expect a huge, okay.
No, it's no different than you going in and buying a Canadian dollar and then turning around and exchanging it back, you know. No, it's not a part.
Okay.
The Chinese yuan is not a part of the foreign exchange market. I mean, the private exchange market, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not. So.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Okay, thanks.
All right.
All right. Okay. Now I think we're done, Blanca. There's only 11 minutes left, so we could probably call the program a little bit early tonight. So any last comments that you want to make?
No, I think we had a good show, lots of good information, and also some good questions. So it's always nice for people to call in. If they've got a question, that means other people do as well.
Yep.
And it sounds like a lot of people appreciate, for the amount of time you spent on there was a lot of good info today. So maybe people can go back and listen again and get some of those details.
Yep. I think we're ready to call it a night. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, we'll see you again next week. Thanks, folks, for coming in tonight. We'll see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.